So how do you deal with bugs on your leading edges or flying through rain, you know, when you run into those hard water droplets? For some reason they're real hard when you're doing 180 knots or 120 knots or even 90 knots, you know. Water's pretty hard. If you've ever fallen skiing, you know what I mean. I've got a solution for you, so stick with us on FlyWire. Hey, I'm Scott Perdue, and today on FlyWire, we're going to talk about what to do about your leading edges, okay? Tell you a quick story. I was in the Air Force, and we get an airplane back from depot that's major maintenance, where they basically take it apart, work on it, completely put it back together again and everything, new paint and everything. So it's like getting a new jet. And we'd fly it for about 6 months, maybe less, and all the leading edges would be trashed. Because, you know, we're hauling butt, we're flying down low, we're flying in the rain, all that kind of stuff, you know, doing 500 plus knots, that I'll admit to. And so it's pretty hard on paint. So at some point, I was at the Heath, the maintainers started using this stuff called 3M leading edge tape. Okay, it's basically a clear cut tape that they put on the leading edges, and our problem stopped. We didn't have all the paint peeling, and the airplanes looked terrible, and all the way back to the metal surface. It's pretty awesome. Impressed me quite a bit. So after that, I've been using this stuff on every airplane that I own, except for the Stearman, and it's called 3M polyurethane protective tape. Okay, you can get it in 4-inch or 6-inch. 6 works real good. 4 is fine, and it's 8672 is their part number. I got this from Aircraft Spruce, and you can get it from other places. Part numbers changed, and how much you buy depends on how much yardage you want to cover. So you can measure your wings, leading edges, and your tail leading edges, and see how that works. What the difference, or how much you actually need. So the number one complaint I hear about from people, he goes, "Oh yeah, you put that stuff on and it yellows." Okay, not sure that's the 3M product, but you're looking at the Whiskey Bravo right now, and it doesn't look like it's yellowing. Tape's on here. I had the leading edges were pretty rugged just after I bought it, and I had them strip the leading edges, and we repainted it. I let it cure, and for 30 days, and then I put 3M leading edge tape on it. So this stuff has been on here for more than a year, and it's not yellowing. It does pretty good. I've flown it in dust, flown it in rain, and all that kind of stuff, and it does real good. But the best thing it does, besides protect you from those hazards, water hazards, is bugs. When they hit this tape, it's real easy to clean them off. You know, you can rehydrate them with a little bit of water, and then you wipe them off, and it's no big deal. So you're not hard, the bugs aren't hard on the paint surface, and then you're not scrubbing them trying to get the bugs off either. So I highly recommend 3M leading edge tape, and I do it on all my airplanes. So if you saw the Charlie video about painting your airplane, it's time. The paint's cured, so I'm going to show you how to apply 3M leading edge tape to the leading edge of Charlie. So check it out. So you need a couple of tools when you get started here to do this. One of them is you need the 3M leading edge tape. This is it. This is 4-inch. I kind of like the 4-inch. 6 is a little bit harder to work. Works fine, and I've used it before, but I'm using 4 today, mainly because I got a lot of it left over from Whiskey Bravo. You need a little bit of water. If you've ever put decals on, what you do is you spray the surface that you're putting decals on with water, and that allows you to move it around before you do the final stick. And when you do that, you use a plastic squeegee so you don't scratch anything, and that's what you squeeze out the air bubbles and the water bubbles and all that stuff out. You'd use this thing right here. And you need a razor blade when you're going to cut against like that surface there, or there's a couple of the little things, little leading edge vortice devices that need a little cutout, so you need a razor blade. and you need some tape, and I've got some yarn here that I use for a straight edge. What I do is I create, and that's what the tape helps me with, is I create a straight edge. This is where the tape's going to be all the way across, so I can eyeball it and make it look straight, because I want to lay it down straight. I don't want it to have a wiggle or anything like that. And the other thing you need is this to dab up the water that you spray around, because you don't want to leave that. You can leave it, but it leaves spots. Not acceptable. So wipe it off and you're good to go. And if you're like me, you need glasses so you can see. All right, so that's the look at the tools, and now let's just take a look at cutting and taping and making this work. Pair of scissors, I forgot to mention that. Need a pair of scissors to cut all this with. And it needs to be a straight edge. A little more than I need, so I'll make a little mark. All right, so I got that. Take this off. Once I get it down, I'll get it down on most of the surface here, and before I get to that tape, I'll take that off and let it go. But I want to be able to get most of it on. So that's the other good thing that a razor blade is for, is separating the tape from its backing. Not all that easy to do. Okay, so remember we wanted to get this straight. I need a little more water. So that is what it's like. Now we just squeegee it off, and I stretched it out a little bit, so it got a little bit longer. It's the other real good use of a razor blade. So that's what you do. That's how it works. Just squeegee it out, get all the air bubbles out, get all the water out, and invariably you're going to have a little bit of water. Just let that ride for a couple of days, have it spend a day in the sun, and then you take a needle and then just poke a little pinhole in as you're squeezing the water out, and you'll be fine. By the way, this, I wasn't really planning on doing a segment on the 3M leading edge tape, but I talked about it before, and I gotten a couple questions about it from folks that have been watching the videos, so I thought I'd pitch in and show you a little bit about how to do it. Finish the whole airplane, leading edges on both main wings and in the tail, those three. It doesn't take too long, a couple hours, no big deal. So there you have it, 3M leading edge tape. Good for abrasion and good for bugs. One thing is when you put it on, it's pretty hard not to get some bubbles on it. Don't worry about it too much. You get it hot, stick it, let it sit out in the sun. Most of the bubbles go away. The rest of them you can kind of smooth with that plastic squeegee, and then with a needle you can prick it and you get rid of the air and the water that's in the bubble. And then after a while sitting out in the sun, man, that film will just adhere. It's not a big deal. Be careful of wrinkles. Those are a little harder to get rid of. But it works great. If you need to peel it off, well, you just take a heat gun, lightly get it a little bit hot. You can peel it off the edge and then squirt water on it, and then you can peel the rest of it off. Just be careful not to rip it off. You don't rip it off like a Band-Aid. You might take paint with it. So anyway, there you have it. Try it out. You might like it. And thanks for watching. Oh, if you want to subscribe, that really helps me out, and you do that by hitting that little button right there for subscribe. If you want notifications of the next video, hit the bell, and then it'll tell you when they're coming out. And I appreciate all that. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time on FlyWire.